Rasheeda, lying in a hospital bed, monitors beeping. Whispers of betrayal echoing louder than the sound of her shallow breaths. That's the shocking reality fans are waking up to today. The hip-hop world is in absolute chaos after reports claim that Kirk Frost, the man she once trusted more than anyone, launched an attack so violent, so unexpected, that it left Rasheeda fighting for her life in the ICU. Fans are reeling. The internet is on fire, and everyone is asking the same question. How did it get this bad? For years, their relationship has been a roller coaster of secrets, infidelity, and heartbreak, but no one ever imagined it could spiral into something this deadly. Witnesses say the tension had been building for weeks, heated arguments behind closed doors, suspicious late-night disappearances, and accusations that cut deeper than ever before. And then, in one explosive night, everything collapsed. Neighbors reported hearing screams that sent chills down their spines, followed by a silence so heavy it was almost unbearable. Now, the woman who built her empire from scratch is lying, unconscious, while the man who once vowed to protect her is at the center of the storm. Fans are shocked, friends are divided, and the family is in pieces. But was this really an act of rage, or is there more to the story than anyone dares to admit? Stay tuned, because what happened inside that house will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Rasheeda and Kirk. The night that changed everything for Rasheeda and Kirk Frost didn't start with violence, it started with whispers, the kind of whispers that crawl through a household like smoke before a fire, suffocating every room before anyone realizes what's happening. Tension had been simmering for weeks, and friends close to the couple noticed the storm brewing, but no one could have predicted how far things would spiral. Rasheeda had been more distant than ever, her voice sharper, her patience thinner, while Kirk, on the other hand, had been both defensive and dismissive, brushing off her concerns with a coldness that stung deeper than the words themselves. The dinner table, once a place of laughter and family warmth, had become a battlefield where accusations flew like knives as late nights were becoming too frequent, her suspicion too heavy, and the silence that followed each fight was more haunting than the screams themselves. On that fateful night, Rasheeda confronted Kirk with tears in her eyes, demanding the truth, her voice trembling not out of weakness but out of the unbearable weight of betrayal. "How long are you going to keep lying to me, Kirk? Do you even care about what you're doing to this family?" she cried, slamming her hand against the table, her eyes searching his face for even a flicker of remorse. But Kirk's expression was stone cold, his voice low and cutting as he shot back, "You think you're perfect, Rasheeda. You think you've never made mistakes. Don't come at me like you're some saint. You don't know half of what I've been dealing with." The words hit her like a slap across the face, not because of their content, but because of the venom behind them. In that moment, she realized the man standing in front of her was no longer the man she fell in love with. He had become someone unrecognizable, someone darker, someone dangerous. Witnesses say the shouting grew louder, spilling into the night, with neighbors hearing Rasheeda's voice breaking under the weight of her pain, followed by Kirk's deeper growl that carried the unmistakable tone of rage. A glass shattered, then another, as tempers flared beyond control. Family members later revealed that this wasn't the first time things had escalated, but it was the first time Rasheeda seemed genuinely afraid. Her mother, who had been on the phone with her earlier that evening, said she could hear the cracks in her daughter's voice, the way her words shook as if she knew she was walking into danger. "Mama, I don't know what's happening to him. He's not the same," Rasheeda whispered before hanging up, her voice laced with dread. Inside the house, emotions ran high as every old wound resurfaced, every betrayal, every accusation, every broken promise came flooding back like a tidal wave too strong to fight against. Kirk accused her of turning the kids against him, of poisoning their minds with her version of the truth, while Rasheeda, with tears streaming down her face, shouted that all she ever wanted was honesty and loyalty to things she felt he could never give her. The fight reached a boiling point when Rasheeda, exhausted and broken, turned her back and muttered, "I'm done, Kirk. I can't live like this anymore. I won't." It was those words that lit the match, that triggered something inside him that no one could have seen coming. Witnesses claim that the silence that followed was brief, terrifying, and deafening. The kind of silence that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up because you know something terrible is about to happen. And then it exploded. Kirk's rage, long buried under layers of denial and excuses, erupted with a force that left the household shaken to its core. Rasheeda's scream pierced the night, and neighbors described the sound as something they would never forget. Terrified, And heartbreaking. Furniture crashed, doors slammed, and the chaos became too much for anyone outside to ignore. Calls flooded into 911, voices trembling as they reported a domestic disturbance that sounded like it could end in tragedy. By the time authorities arrived, the scene inside was nothing short of devastation. Rasheeda lay motionless, her body battered, her face pale, as paramedics rushed to stabilize her. Kirk, wild-eyed and trembling, stood frozen, his chest heaving as if he couldn't comprehend what he had done. Fans are shocked as these details continue to surface, painting a picture of a love story gone horribly, irreversibly wrong. Social media erupted within minutes of the news breaking, with hashtags flooding timelines, fans pleading for updates on Rasheeda's condition, and others demanding justice. Friends and family, torn apart by the night's events, were left scrambling to process what had just happened, some defending Kirk, others condemning him. But all united by one thing: fear for Rasheeda's life. And as she was rushed into the ICU, clinging to every breath, the world watched in disbelief. Waiting, praying, and asking the question no one could answer: how did it come to this? The hospital lights glared down harshly as Rasheeda was wheeled into the ICU, her body still and fragile, covered in bruises that told the story she could no longer speak for herself. Outside those double doors, chaos unfolded. Family members gathered in tears, their voices trembling as they demanded answers from doctors who could only promise they were doing everything possible to keep her alive. Her mother wept uncontrollably, clutching onto Rasheeda's hand before being forced to let go, whispering through sobs, "Baby, you fight. Don't let him take you from us." Her children, caught between confusion and heartbreak, cried silently in the corner, unable to comprehend how their family had shattered in a single night. Fans flooded the hospital parking lot, their chants echoing through the night air. "Justice for Rasheeda. Justice for Rasheeda." Their signs raised high, their love for her fierce and unyielding. The world of hip-hop, usually brimming with glitz and glamour, had suddenly turned into a stage for one of the darkest tragedies anyone could imagine. Meanwhile, Kirk Frost's absence spoke louder than words. Rumors swirled like wildfire. Some said he had fled Atlanta to escape the backlash. Others claimed he was hiding in a safe house, terrified of what the truth coming out would mean for his reputation and freedom. But whispers from insiders suggested something even darker: that Kirk didn't see himself as guilty, that in his mind, Rasheeda had provoked him, pushed him past the edge, and that he was the real victim in this story. His friends, divided and cautious, struggled to reconcile the man they knew with the monster the headlines painted. Some argued that Rasheeda had been manipulative, that she had secrets of her own she threatened to unleash, while others insisted that no secret, no betrayal, could ever justify what had been done. The division was brutal, ripping apart not only their circle of friends but the fanbase that had followed their love story for years. Back inside the hospital, the silence was unbearable. Doctors emerged briefly to update the family. Rasheeda was alive, but her condition critical, her body weak from the trauma she had endured. Every hour was uncertain, every heartbeat a reminder of how fragile the situation had become. The waiting room was filled with emotions so thick they hung in the air, like fog: anger, sorrow, disbelief. At one point, one of Rasheeda's closest friends slammed her fist against the wall, shouting, he was supposed to love her, he was supposed to protect her. And now look at her. Look at what he's done. Others pulled her back, their own tears blurring their vision, their hands shaking as they tried to hold on to some sense of hope. Social media only added to the frenzy. Videos circulated of fans crying outside the hospital, sharing their heartbreak in real time. Tweets spread like wildfire. Rasheeda gave her everything to that man, and this is how he repays her. Lock him up now. No excuses, no delays. Instagram flooded with old photos of Rasheeda smiling, performing, and living her best life, fans using them as tributes as though they feared she might not make it through the night. Celebrities began weighing in too, some standing firmly with Rasheeda, posting heartfelt messages and calling for accountability, while others remained silent. Their loyalty to Kirk clashing with the undeniable horror of the situation. The divide only deepened the drama, creating a storm that no one could escape from. And then, the twists began. One insider, speaking anonymously to the press, claimed that Rasheeda had uncovered damning evidence of Kirk's latest betrayal just hours before the attack: screenshots of messages, money transfers, and even photos tying him to another woman. If true, it painted a chilling picture of a man desperate to silence the truth before it could destroy him. But another source, equally anonymous, painted a different story, suggesting Rasheeda herself had been hiding secrets, that she had her own entanglements, her own betrayals, and that she was prepared to unleash them in a way that could have humiliated Kirk beyond repair. These competing narratives only fueled speculation, fans arguing passionately online, some saying Kirk was a monster who needed to pay, others whispering that maybe the full truth hadn't been revealed yet. The Frost family name, once a fixture of reality TV drama, was now a headline drenched in scandal. Emotions ran high, the family was left divided, and the public could do nothing but watch in horror as the tragedy unfolded like a train wreck. No one could look away from, with Rasheeda unconscious and unable to tell her side of the story, and Kirk hiding from the world's gaze. The truth was trapped between the screams of that night and the silence of those hospital walls. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any darker, whispers began to surface of police preparing to issue warrants, suggesting this wasn't just a domestic dispute, but a crime that could change everything. The following morning, the sun rose over Atlanta, but for Rasheeda's family, and the fans glued to their screens, the night's darkness hadn't lifted. Reporters swarmed outside the hospital, cameras flashing as every passing vehicle fueled. Speculation was it Kirk arriving to face his demons, or just another visitor desperate for a glimpse of the unfolding chaos. Inside, the sterile beeping of machines was the only rhythm keeping hope alive. Rasheeda's chest rising and falling slowly, each breath a fragile victory in the war she hadn't chosen. Doctors were cautious with their updates, telling her loved ones that she was stable but far from safe. The words "next 48 hours are critical" echoed like a curse, a reminder that life itself was dangling by a thread. Her mother sat at her bedside, whispering prayers and brushing her daughter's hair back gently, her tears soaking into the sheets as she begged, "Baby girl, don't leave me. You're stronger than this. You've fought through worse. Please, fight for us now." Outside that quiet, heartbreaking room, emotions ran dangerously high. Rasheeda's friends were split between grief and fury, some demanding Kirk's arrest immediately, others pacing the halls in shock, unable to comprehend how love could have mutated into something so violent. "He should be behind bars already," one friend shouted in frustration. "If it was anyone else, he'd be in cuffs by now. But because it's Kirk, suddenly everybody's moving slow." The tension grew so sharp that security was called in to keep the peace, because even in the hospital, the drama refused to quiet down. Meanwhile, Kirk's absence had become the loudest noise of all. His phone was reportedly turned off, his social media wiped clean overnight, fueling theories that he was running from justice. Some fans insisted he had already left the city, fleeing to avoid arrest, while others speculated he was hiding somewhere nearby, watching the storm unfold from the shadows. But then came the first bombshell twist, a leaked voicemail, allegedly from Kirk himself. In it, his voice cracked with anger and desperation as he said, "Y'all don't know what really happened. She pushed me, she threatened me, she had receipts that were gonna ruin everything. I snapped, but I swear I didn't mean for it to go this far." The voicemail spread like wildfire, splitting the internet in half. Was it a confession, or a desperate attempt to twist the narrative before the truth came out? Fans argued furiously in comment sections, some demanding justice for Rasheeda without hesitation, others pointing out that his words hinted at a side of the story no one had considered. As the days turned into a media frenzy, celebrities began choosing sides. One of Rasheeda's closest allies posted a video in tears, her voice trembling as she said, "I can't believe this happened to my girl. She's the strongest woman I know, but no one deserves what he did to her. Kirk, you're done." On the other side, an old friend of Kirk's went live, insisting that the story had been blown out of proportion, claiming that Rasheeda wasn't as innocent as people thought. The conflicting statements fueled even more speculation. Fans left in a whirlwind of questions. Had Rasheeda been planning to expose Kirk's secrets, or was she simply the victim of a man who let his temper destroy everything? The police finally broke their silence, confirming that an investigation was underway. They called the incident serious and potentially criminal, hinting at charges that could end Kirk's freedom for years to come. But before they could even issue a statement about his whereabouts, yet another shocking twist surfaced. An anonymous insider claimed to have proof that Rasheeda had been preparing to file for divorce in secret, with papers already drawn up and hidden away. If true, it meant the attack might not have been triggered just by an argument, but by Kirk discovering that his entire life with her was about to crumble in public. Fans were left stunned, unable to process how quickly the story was unraveling into layers upon layers of betrayal and heartbreak. Every new revelation seemed darker than the last, every whispered secret more explosive. And while Rasheeda remained unconscious, unable to defend herself, her silence became the heaviest weight of all. Would she wake up to tell her side? To finally set the record straight? Or had Kirk's deadly rage silenced her forever? The world was watching, waiting, their hearts breaking with every headline as the Frost family's darkest chapter continued to unfold. By the third day, the weight of the scandal had grown unbearable. With every corner of Atlanta buzzing about Rasheeda's condition and Kirk's vanishing act, outside the hospital, the crowd of fans had doubled, their chants growing louder, their anger boiling over as news anchors broadcast live, painting Rasheeda as the fallen queen of reality TV betrayed by the man who swore to stand by her. Inside, her family remained on edge, each moment feeling like a lifetime, clinging desperately to the hope that Rasheeda would open her eyes. Nurses whispered in hushed tones about the visitors streaming in and out, the endless tension that followed her loved ones into the waiting area, where arguments broke out as easily as tears. One particularly explosive moment came when a family member accused Kirk's cousin of knowing where he was hiding, screaming, "You protecting him? After what he did, she could die in there, and you're still choosing his side." Security had to separate them, the divide in the family tearing wider with each passing hour. Meanwhile, social media had turned into a battlefield. Some fans demanded #arrest Kirk now, their fury relentless, posting videos of themselves crying, screaming, and vowing to boycott anything connected to him. Others, however, began to question the narrative, pointing out that Kirk's alleged voicemail hinted at secrets that could twist the entire story upside down. And then came the most shocking leak yet. Screenshots, allegedly pulled from Rasheeda's phone, showing messages between her and a mysterious man identified only by the initial T. The messages were flirty, suggestive, and filled with references to getting out before it's too late. Though their authenticity was unverified, the screenshots spread like wildfire, fueling speculation that Rasheeda had been planning to leave Kirk not only for freedom but perhaps for someone new. Fans were divided. Was Rasheeda a victim of abuse, or had she been playing her own dangerous game that finally pushed Kirk over the edge? As the debate raged on, the police finally issued a formal warrant for Kirk Frost's arrest, charging him with aggravated assault. Reporters swarmed the precinct, demanding answers, while fans cheered that justice was finally catching up with him. But in true reality TV fashion, the story took yet another dramatic twist. Hours after the warrant was announced, a shaky live video appeared on social media. It was Kirk himself, sitting in a dimly lit room, his face shadowed, his eyes wild. With desperation, he looked straight into the camera and said, "Y'all think you know the truth, but you don't. You've seen what they want you to see. Rasheeda wasn't innocent. She was plotting against me, threatening me with things that would destroy my life, my family, my career." I snapped, "Yeah, but I'm not the villain here. She pushed me, and now you're all trying to bury me." The video sent shockwaves across the internet, fans screaming in the comments, some calling him a coward, others insisting that maybe he had been provoked beyond control. Within minutes, the video was deleted, but the damage was done. The clip was already everywhere, dissected, replayed, fueling an inferno of speculation. Back at the hospital, Rasheeda's condition showed the slightest sign of improvement. Her fingers twitched, her breathing steadied, and though she wasn't awake, doctors told her family the small changes were promising. Her mother clutched her hand, sobbing with relief, whispering, "She's fighting. My baby's fighting." Friends and fans erupted with hope, flooding social media with messages of encouragement, believing Rasheeda might just pull through to tell her story. But the family's relief was short-lived when a reporter cornered them in the hallway, shoving a phone in their faces to show Kirk's video. "How do you respond to his claims?" the reporter asked, her voice cutting through the fragile peace. The family's reaction was immediate: rage, disbelief, heartbreak, all at once. One of Rasheeda's closest friends snapped, "He can twist it however he wants. But nothing justifies putting her in that bed. Nothing." The statement spread instantly, the battle lines drawn deeper than ever. And just as the world thought it couldn't get any more chaotic, whispers emerged from within the hospital itself. A nurse, speaking anonymously, claimed that Rasheeda had been trying to reach someone privately in the days leading up to the attack, leaving secret notes in her phone, notes that hinted at betrayal, threats, and a dangerous truth no one was ready to face. If those notes surfaced, they could either vindicate Rasheeda completely or expose a double life that would shock even her most loyal fans. The suspense was unbearable. Would Rasheeda wake up and reveal the truth, or would Kirk's version of the story become the narrative history remembered? The world held its breath, watching as the most dramatic chapter of their saga teetered on the edge of revelation. The fourth night was the most intense yet. Outside the hospital, the crowd had grown into hundreds, holding candles, posters, and chanting Rasheeda's name as though their voices alone could will her back to life. News helicopters circled overhead, their spotlights cutting through the night sky. While every major outlet broadcasted live updates, speculating endlessly about her condition and Kirk's next move, inside the ICU, the atmosphere was suffocating. Every beep from the machines, every whisper from the nurses, every sigh from her family carried the weight of life and death. Rasheeda's children sat quietly, clutching each other's hands, their innocent eyes filled with fear. Her mother prayed out loud now, refusing to stop, her words echoing down the sterile hallway. Lord, don't take her from me. She still has so much to live for. She still has battles to win. The family's grief mixed with their rage, a storm that seemed impossible to calm. Then, at the height of the tension, it happened. Rasheeda stirred, her eyelids fluttered, her hand clenched weakly against the blanket, and though her voice was barely audible, she whispered something that sent chills down the spines of everyone present. According to her mother, the words were, "He tried to kill me." Those 5 words became the headline of every outlet within minutes, sparking a firestorm across the internet. Fans erupted in fury, demanding Kirk be dragged into custody immediately. Hashtags like #justice for Rasheeda and #Kirk behind bars shot to the top of trending lists worldwide. The hope of her survival mixed with the outrage of her confession, transforming the story from speculation to a crusade for justice. But Kirk wasn't done. Just as the world rallied around Rasheeda's whispered accusation, another shocking leak hit the internet. A video, allegedly from security cameras inside their home, showing a heated argument between the couple the night of the attack. In the grainy footage, Rasheeda could be seen shouting, pointing a finger in Kirk's face, while Kirk paced back and forth, visibly enraged. At one point, Rasheeda appeared to shove him, and though the footage cut off before the actual attack, it was enough to ignite a storm of debate. Kirk's supporters jumped on it instantly, claiming it proved his side that Rasheeda had provoked him, that she wasn't as innocent as the world wanted her to be. Rasheeda's defenders, however, argued passionately that nothing justified the brutality that landed her in the ICU. The footage, incomplete and ambiguous, only deepened the divide, fueling endless arguments that tore through social media like wildfire. Back in the hospital, Rasheeda's fragile state prevented her from saying more. Doctors insisted she needed rest, that pushing her to speak could jeopardize her recovery. But her family clung to those whispered words as gospel, refusing to let Kirk's narrative overshadow her truth. Friends stood outside the hospital, giving statements to the press, their voices trembling with emotion. One close friend shouted into the cameras, "You all saw the footage, but what you didn't see is the aftermath. He didn't stop. He didn't care. He left her broken. That's who Kirk Frost really is." Their words only fueled the fire, painting Kirk as a villain with no redemption left. Then came the final twist that left fans gasping. Late that night, police revealed that Kirk had turned himself in. Cameras captured the moment he walked into the precinct, his head low, his expression grim but defiant. Reporters screamed questions at him. Did you try to kill Rasheeda? Do you regret what you did? But he said nothing, letting his silence speak louder than words. His lawyer released a statement shortly after, claiming, "Mr. Frost is innocent of the charges being leveled against him. We have evidence that will prove this was not the story you've been told. The truth will come out in court." The announcement sent shockwaves through fans who had been certain justice was already within reach. As Kirk sat behind bars awaiting his first hearing, Rasheeda's slow recovery continued. The world watched, torn between hope for her survival and dread of the courtroom battle looming ahead. Would she be strong enough to testify against the man she once loved? Would Kirk's so-called evidence turn the case upside down? The saga had reached its climax, but the resolution was still out of reach. Fans, friends, and family were left divided, clinging to their versions of the truth, waiting for the day the final chapter would be written. And until then, one question lingered in everyone's mind: was this the end of Rasheeda and Kirk, or just the beginning of a darker, even more shocking story yet to unfold? And now, As the dust settles for now, what we're left with is a love story turned nightmare, a family fractured, and a fan base that doesn't know whether to mourn, rage, or prepare for the next explosive twist. Rasheeda, the boss chick herself, is still clinging to life, her future uncertain, her voice only barely returned with those chilling words. He tried to kill me. Kirk, the man she once built an empire with, now sits behind bars, his silence heavy, his lawyers' promises of hidden evidence leaving everyone questioning what could possibly come next. The world is watching, emotions running higher than ever. Because this isn't just another reality TV scandal, this is raw. This is life and death, and the wounds run far deeper than what any camera could ever capture. But what happens now? Will Rasheeda recover enough to stand in court and face the man who allegedly betrayed her in the most violent way? Will Kirk's mysterious proof emerge to flip the narrative, or will it expose an even darker truth that no one is ready to face? And what about the family? Torn apart by accusations, distrust, and grief, can they ever heal from a blow this devastating, or will these scars define them forever? Fans are demanding answers, but the reality is, the story is still being written. And every day brings a new headline, a new heartbreak, a new reason to question everything we thought we knew about love, loyalty, and betrayal. And that's where you come in. If you've been following this shocking saga, if your heart broke seeing Rasheeda in that hospital bed, if your jaw dropped hearing Kirk's defiant words, then we want to hear from you. Do you believe Rasheeda's whispered confession, or do you think Kirk's claim of hidden evidence could change everything? Should Kirk spend the rest of his life behind bars, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't hold back, because trust me, this conversation is only getting started. And if you want to, stay locked in as this drama unfolds, because you know this story is far from over. Make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Every time a new twist breaks, every time a shocking update drops, we'll be right here breaking it all down for you. This isn't just news. This is history in the making, the kind of story people will still be talking about years from now. So don't miss a second of it. Like, comment, subscribe, and let your voice be heard, because when it comes to Rasheeda and Kirk, the truth may be darker, messier, and more unbelievable than any of us could have ever imagined.